Good morning. Myself Ashagila Devi, Assistant Professor in Rohini College of Engineering and Technology. Today we are going to discuss about the subject CS3391 Object Oriented Programming. In this subject, today we are going to discuss about Java exceptions, that is different kinds of Java exceptions. So what is the outcome of learning this particular module is, on successful completion of this module, the students can be able to summarize the concept about exceptions and different kinds of exceptions. So first we are going to discuss about the Java built-in exceptions. So the built-in exceptions are the exception which are available in Java libraries. These exceptions are suitable to explain certain error situations. For example, in Java we have several kinds of built-in exceptions. So some of the built-in exceptions are arithmetic exception, array index out of bound exceptions, class not found exception, file not found exception, IO exception, that is input output exception, and interrupted exception. So what is an arithmetic exception is when an exception occurs because of the arithmetic operation means that is called as arithmetic exception. Array index out of bound exception means when you are using an array, if it exceeds the limit of or index of array bound means that is called as, or if it is greater than the size of the array means that is array index out of bound exceptions. If a particular program try to access a class, if the class is not found means that is class not found exception. If a particular program try to access a file, that file is not found means that is file not found exceptions. If an input or output operation failed means it creates IO exceptions. And it is thrown when a thread is waiting or sleeping or doing some process, that interrupted exception will be occur. And next we have no such field exceptions, no such method exceptions, null pointer exceptions, number format exceptions, runtime exceptions, and string index out of bound exceptions. No such field exception means there is no such field or variable or class available means that is called as no such field exceptions. If there is no method available we are searching a method, that method is not available means that is called as no such method exception. When this null pointer exception occurs, it raised when we are referring a member which has the which is a null object. And number format exception, this exception is raised when we are accessing a string which is in a numerical format. And runtime exception, that represents an exception which occurs during runtime. And string index out of bound exception, it throws when the string class method which indicates that an index is neither negative than the size of the string. Okay, if it exceeds or if it is negative than the size of the string means that is creates an index out of bound exception. And we have user defined exceptions also. User defined exception means that is not available in the Java library itself. If the user is going to create some exception handling mechanism, that is user defined exceptions. Java allows the user to create their own exception classes, which is used to derived from the built-in class exceptions. See, the exception classes inherit all the methods from the class throwable. The throwable class is a superclass of all the errors and exceptions in the Java language. It contains a snapshot of execution stack of its thread at the time when it's created. It can also contain the message string that gives more information about the error. So the exception class is defined in java.lang.package. The user-defined exceptions class must inherit the exception class. The user-defined exception can thrown using the throw keyword. So how we can create an user-defined exception is the syntax is class, the exception handling a name, that is a thread name, and also extends exception. And what are all the methods we have is the throwable, fill and stack trace of, and get localized message of, and get message of function, print stack trace of function, toString of function, and get stack trace of function. And we have two commonly used constructor for exception classes. One is exception, which construct a new exception with the null details, and exception of string message, which construct a new exception with the specified details of message. Thank you.